Hello everybody and welcome back to 10-Minute Reviews. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. They're right down below. We've just started this channel. We would appreciate any kind of support you can give us. Reading is our passion, so this is our family's little fun channel. Today I'm going to talk about a book and author in a slightly different genre, although I have talked a few times about books within this genre, although it actually does tend to cross with other genres. As usual, I'm going to talk about four things. I'm going to talk about the world, the characters, the plot, and the writing style. So today I want to talk about The Lost Reavers by Mike Truk. And this book qualifies under the Harem genre, but it also qualifies under the fantasy genre. Typically, I mean, of course, most people would consider, harem some form of fantasy, but I mean, it's basically like Middle Ages adjacent type of world, which is what I'm going to talk about first. So the world, like I said, very Middle Ages adjacent. You've got your kings, you got your queens, your dukes, your duchesses, barons, all the usual stuff. You've got your knights, you've got your mercenaries, your soldiers. Pretty much the standard fare. You've got almost all the standard tropes within the fantasy world. Magic is not touched on all that much. It's there, and it does come into play, but it is not a huge thing like you would see in, say, a Raymond E. Feist novel or obviously Jim Butcher. So magic is there, but it's on a much lower scale than a lot of fantasy genres. And the harem side of things, it's also definitely there, but Mike Truk is an excellent author. The plot lines, the way he writes, and the books, you want to keep reading, not because you want to get to the next wink wink nudge nudge scene. In fact, oftentimes you may find yourself even trying to scroll quickly through it to get to the next actual major thing happening within the plot, because the plot is very, very good. As far as the characters go, it really just revolves around one character, Hugh, and the fact that he is I want to say he's the brother, if I recall correctly, of a duke. And now he's kind of a fallen character. He's living off of his royal status and the family money and such, and he's basically a drunken playboy for the most part, but apparently he is some almost legendary former soldier and sole survivor of some battle, which is why it's called the Lost Reavers. I guess he is the last Reaver. Basically, the Reaver company was wiped out, and he's kind of under a little bit of a black cloud because he is considered cursed. So he is summoned by his brother to help with an issue, I guess you could say, and now we're delving into the plot of the book, to help with an issue in a very small town. Now, I'm not going to delve too much into the plot itself. I don't want to give too many things away, because a lot of things start to intertwine. It's basically kind of a mystery, although I have to say the main mystery ends up being exactly what is Hugh's issue. Because when it first starts presenting, you're like, that doesn't seem like much of a curse. And then as it keeps going, you start to find out that while it is a bit of a curse, it's not so much a magical curse that was laid on him. It's more of the result of a vow or a promise that he made. So he basically saddled himself with this curse. And that's what kind of ends up leading into the rest of the series, because this is actually a series. The last I checked, there are 4 books. I believe I'm on book 3 right now. And again, it's a great series. It's a lot of fun. If you like fantasy, if you like harem, if you just like great authors, you gotta read them. You gotta read them. Again, the adult content of it, it's there, and it's well written, definitely very clearly written, but it's very much a small part. Some of the harem authors out there, their books are about 90% adult content and about 15 pages of plot line. This, you could almost flip that script. This is a fully fleshed out, fantastic, great fantasy book that had adult situations written into it, if that makes sense. It's almost like you could take them out, you could take those out, and you would have a fantastic book. You would have an absolutely great book. So Mike Truk, he's a great author. He's one of those Harem authors that is just a great author, just a fantastic author. Just happens to prefer to write within this genre. Although I notice he also tends to stick within the fantasy genre. So hard to say whether he's a harem author that writes in fantasy, or if he's a fantasy author that also writes in the harem side of things. But he's a great author. Writing style, it's hard to really draw comparisons. He's not super dark. He does write Hugh very well as a tortured soul at first, and definitely suffering under this curse, and oftentimes conflicted, because his curse gives him some pretty amazing things, but he has to follow, this vow and this oath that he had made that's really hanging over his head as well. And while this curse gives him some pretty amazing things, you could also say it probably, if it were to occur in our world right now, it would also be considered a pretty significant mental illness. So he definitely has a lot of things that are pushing on him. And Mike Truk writes it very well. He writes the world well. He writes the interactions with the characters very well. His dialogue is really good. Pretty amusing too. Definitely makes you smile sometimes chuckle. But he's managed to fully flesh out this world, fully flesh out the families and the hierarchies. The nobles and the peasants and the warriors and soldiers and the cursed and the not cursed, and he fleshes all that out. He writes great dialogue. His characters are very well written. All in all, it's a great book. If you took the adult section out of it, it still would be a fantastic fantasy book that we'd be talking about on this channel. And if you like the adult side of things, there you go. You've got both in one book. So you guys definitely have to check it out. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go check it out. And again, Mike Truk, The Lost Reavers, which is book 1 of The Lost Reavers. Thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now.